Hi, Spring fans. In this installment, I want to take a quick look at yet another way to secure another use case with Spring Security. And in this case, I want to look at how to secure a CLI-based application. So we'll go here, we're going to create actually, you know what we'll do? We'll go here and create an auth server first. This is our OAuth authorization server. We need an authorization server to vend and validate tokens. It could be anything logically. This is the only part that's sort of optional, right? You could, in theory, use Keycloak or Okta or Auth0 or Active Directory or whatever. But I just happen to like the Auth server because it's just, well, it's just awesome. It's fast. It does almost everything. Can't beat the price. It's, lightweight, completely configurable. Good stuff, okay? So Auth server, web. We're going to keep it simple here. No frills, nothing special. And okay, generate, there we are, close that, generate, and open this up. Okay, we're gonna need to define a few clients, just like you would if you went to developer.facebook.com or developer.twitter.com or whatever. We'll do that with some config. So go over here and refactor this file to be a property file. Sorry, a YAML file. Okay, go over here, and I happen to have application.yaml. So you can see I'm just defining one client called Spring, and I'm defining a grant type for the device code. Okay, this is very important to what we're trying to do here. Since we have no HTTP client, our client is actually a shell. It's a CLI. Okay, let's define now the basics here. Just stock standard Spring security stuff. Define an HTTP filter chain, right? Turn HTTP dot, what did I call it? I called it security. HTTP dot build. Okay, call it. What do we need? We need some basics here. We don't need a lot, but we do need to define the auth server. We want to lock down any request. Authorization server itself has three things that we care about. A, OADC. Yes, please. We can just do this. Nope. I'll just extract it out to a variable here. Yes, there we go. Okay, and you know what? That doesn't work. It's actually better if you just inline it, isn't it? Okay, so we'll do that. We want a.device, sure. A.device verification, yes. Okay, these are all very important. Make sure you have those configured. We want to do form login. You could do one-time tokens or passkeys or whatever. I think that's it, actually. Oh, we need usernames and passwords. To keep things simple, I'll just specify a username is Josh and the password is PW. Okay. Do we need anything else? Oh, we need, yeah, that's it actually. I think we're good. Let's just try this. It's on port 9090, localhost 9090. Well-known OpenID config. There it is. It's a valid OAuth IDP. So now we can go back here and build a protected, secured HTTP endpoint. So we use the OAuth resource server support, the web support. I'll call this HTTP, and that's it. Open that up, generate that, open this up, and only a few things have to happen here. First, we'll tell this to run on port 8085. Second, we'll tell it to validate and to vend tokens by talking to localhost 9090. And then we'll create a simple HTTP endpoint that just returns the name of the currently authenticated user. Controller, rest. Okay, there you are. So that should be running. And now finally, we want to create a shell that will act as a client to this endpoint. It wants to talk to this endpoint, but this endpoint is, as we stipulated here, it's rejecting requests that don't have a valid token, which can be obtained from this auth server. This could be Okta or Keycloak or whatever, but in this case, it's the Spring Auth server. That's the name of the project, right? So we're going to go here back to start.spring.io, and we're going to build a Spring Shell application with web support. Of course, you're going to want to use GraalVM native image support. We want the OAuth client support. We want the HTTP client support. And I'm just going to call this shell. Now, we have the default starter here for Spring Shell, but I like to use the Spring Shell starter JNC. Okay, there we are. Good. And otherwise, I also need to point this to the config. I need to mirror the config that we have on the auth server. So I'll paste this all there. And you can see it just says that this is a interactive shell. Thank you. I'm telling it that it's not a web app. Great. We're telling it to validate tokens against this place. And importantly, we're telling it we're acting as a client on behalf of the user, and we expect to get the authorization grant type for device code. We also want this scope. Okay, so a couple of things we need to do. Remember, this is just a Spring Shell application. So we'll have a command here, description, returns the message from a secured HTTP endpoint, string message. Okay, now that's the shell, obviously. And what is it going to do? Well, in order for it to do its work, we're going to use a a little bit of workflow logic, a little bit of orchestration logic that I'm going to put inside this thing I've cheekily called grantor, and it'll have the ability to give me a verification URI and a completable future that once called will give me the access token. Okay, so grant, come back to that in a second, remove that. Okay, so in the logic here, in order for me to do my work, I need, of course, a REST client, okay, and I need a grantor, and I need a code, the token from the auth server. So we'll stash that in an atomic variable here. Okay, these we can get from the constructor. Well, sort of. We'll initialize things from the constructor. Okay, and now here we'll do a little check. We'll say this.code is null. Okay, if it is, then we use the grantor to get the result, and that'll give us the verification URL. So please go to result.verification URL. And then what is that grant? Yeah, it's record grant. What does that do? Oh, return a grant. Okay, there we are. And then once we have that, once we've got the user notified to do that, we'll then, I guess, result.accesstoken.get will give us a code. I want to stash that here. We'll say this.code.set. Okay, and of course, this throws an exception. It's a completable future. And remember, we're doing some polling inside there. So now that we have the token, we want to make a call to the backend API, like so. Okay, localhost 8085 rest headers h.bearer authentication this.code.get.retrieve.body JSON node.class. And then we're going to just get the name of the user as relayed by the server. Okay, and send that back. So that'll be the result of our call. Now, of course, we're calling the server with a token, and we can get, the user, the server will be able to look at that incoming request, and it can inject the principal and can use that to figure out who's making the request. You can, of course, tie that to your database and so on. Okay, so that all looks pretty good, but obviously we need to integrate and implement this grantor. So let's do that now. The basic shell of things is that we're going to use the client registration, and we also need a REST client, but we need to derive those so that we can inject a client registration directly, but we can get it from the repository. So we'll do that. So I'll say .find by ID. It's called Spring. And I'm going to build this using the builder. Okay, and we have a few things we need to specify here. Okay, so we'll say headers .set basic auth. You got the client ID and the client secret, and headers .set content type. We're going to be sending a form. So I'll send form URL encoded. Okay. And here in the logic, we're going to call and get the information about the token in the device authorization URL. So var result equals this.http.post.uri. We'll get this configuration metadata. And then from there, you can get device authorization URL. Okay, and that's an object, but we'll turn it into a string. Ask for the data to come back as a JSON node. We have to specify some extra metadata, right? And that metadata we'll specify in a map. The problem is we can't just send a map. We have to send a linked value map. So let's say scope is this, okay? Client ID is this, and there's this, okay? Now, about that map, let's talk about that. I need to have a little convenient method here to turn a regular map into a linked multi-value map, okay? So var L, okay, and we'll say map.forEach, and return that. Thank you, AI, that was convenient. And so from body metadata, all right, maybe that goes up there. Nope. By the way, where's the, oh yeah, down there. No, body, I would have sworn this goes up and then there. Surely, okay, very good. So we get the result back, make a call to that endpoint. We specify we've got the headers that are there in the default. That'll give us back a response, a JSON response. And from there, we can get the device code. So result.get, what is this? Oh, I have to call retrieve. I say get, oh, that's the issue. Okay, we say device code. Okay, good. Var verification URI, result.verification URI complete. That's the endpoint there. And now we can return a grant, passing in the verification URI and an async supplier of the actual access token, which we'll get by polling. That's why we're doing it in a completable future like that. So we'll come back to that in a second. Okay, so now, in order for this to work, we need to attempt to get the data. Throwable exception, okay? And then, we should care about this, but I don't, because the exception that we're looking for is actually the one that tells us that the token isn't there yet, basically. So we're just going to continue until the token is there, okay? So waiting, okay? We'll do a thread.sleep for 5 seconds. And of course, there's an alternative implementation that takes a duration there. And then I'm going to say return the token given the device code. So I'm going to attempt every 5 seconds to call this method. Okay, good. And that is no longer required, nor is that. Now, what does this do? Well, we're going to say this dot, we're going to create some data first. Actually, that's a good point. Data is from map of device code, okay, and client ID. This dot registration, get client ID, and then we want the grant type. Of course, we'll use that convenient authorized code grant. It's authorized grant type, device code, get value. Okay. And then we're going to use this to call the token endpoint. So this.post.url, get the token URL, and then the body will be the data that we just set up. Get the data back as a JSON node, and we'll get the access token as the last parameter from there, and we'll return that. Okay. All right. Okay, so we've made the request. We could. I'll show you. I'm going to log out just so you can kind of see what you're looking at. But normally you would handle this. You do a test of the type of the throwable, right? If it's one of the HTTP client responses that says, and if you can inspect the JSON payload of the error in the HTTP response, and it says that the authorization is still pending, then you keep going. Otherwise, you want to actually handle the error. But in this case, I'm playing fast and loose. Okay. Let's try it. URI with undefined schema. Did I fail to ask for the right thing? Device authorization endpoint. Okay. Click on that. Enter the username and password, which, as you will remember, we established to be JW and Josh and PW rather. Send a consent. Okay. And there's our authenticated user. So my friends, this has been a very quick look at how to use some of the machinery. And again, this is a little low level. We're actually working with JSON payloads and stuff here. But the Spring Auth server supports this, right? And Spring Security, a lot of the machinery is already here. The OAuth client machinery is here. We're just taking a little bit further to go and support this device code integration. But this is pretty cool because remember, this is a Spring Shell application. I ran the program here in the JVM, but you can turn this into a GraalVM native image. One of the things you might want to do once you're comfortable is, just turn off everything. Now the shell starts up and it just shows you that. And you're ready to go. You've got a prompt, you can interact with it, ship it as a GraalVM native image, and people can authenticate with your backend API, easy as can be. Thanks for watching, everybody, as always, and see you next time.